Welcome back to SleeplessRonin Plays, and today we're going to be doing a different style video. This video is going to be in the likes of not so much a ranking video or an explanation video, but more of a my hopes and dreams video. We know there's the upcoming Kickstarter, the Mercenaries Kickstarter, coming in March this year. Well, we've seen a good number of previews, and because of that, we've got an idea of how they're kind of like looking at different mechs. But I have a list of mechs that I'm hoping make it to the Kickstarter in some way, shape, or form. These are Innistrad only. I might do a clan video later on, but right now just concentrating on the Innistrad mechs. I have 10 mechs I think have a good chance of making it in. They're from mostly from the 3055 and 3058 technical readouts, and those are ones that there's already a good amount of stuff that's out for, so these are they would fit in. Let's start off with my very first mech on my list. These are just by weight, more or less. There's no real priority of I think this one's going to have a better chance or this is going to have a better chance. The first one up on the list, though, is the Tarantula. I think it fits in the whole release because, A, it's a quad, and we're getting quads this time. We've already seen the Goliath and the Scorpion, which, yay! But beyond that, it's another quad, and A, the metal model is just truly awful. It falls apart, even if pinned. It's way, way too big. This thing needs to be scaled down significantly so it can, actually be like a 25-ton light mech and not like gigantic, I take up 4 hexes in size kind of thing like the metal model. Benefit is, it is a very, very favored mech by mercenary units. You can see right here, it's used by the Kellhounds, Mercenaries, and Wolf Dragoons throughout multiple eras, so this is definitely a mech that fits the Mercenaries theme of the Kickstarter, so I have high hopes that this mech gets redesigned, resculpted, and released to us as yet another quad in the Mercenaries Kickstarter. My second mech on the list is the Stealth, and while it's not really a favorite mech of mine overall, it is a mech that is used by mercenaries quite heavily. Mercenary, and this is the 2D1, so it's a later era model. You get back to the original 1D, and you'll see it's used by everybody, including mercenaries, Kellhounds, Wolf Dragoons again, and it maintains that. A lot of these variants are found in mercenary forces, so the Stealth has a really good chance, in my opinion, of being in the Mercenaries Kickstarter. It's a mech that I think could really use a resculpt because it's got a lot of fiddliness to it, and it could have some of that tone down. Also, I kind of have a soft spot for it because it's not a brilliant mech, but it's like one of those ones it fits a line unit and it's got a use. It's a scout, and so yeah, I think that the Stealth has a place in the upcoming Kickstarter. I don't know if it's going to come out or not. I'm making this video now so that when the Kickstarter rolls around, I can go, haha, I predicted that. Next up, this one is more of an outlier, I think. This one, I would like to see it done because mainly it just really needs an improved sculpt and art and model overall. But the Grim Reaper is a 55-ton medium, and it's one of those jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none mechs. Got LRMs and SRMs and ER larges and pulse weapons. I mean, it doesn't concentrate on anything. But it is used by mercenaries quite often in a lot of eras. I mean, Kellhounds, Wolf Dragoons, and Mercenary again. And this goes for a lot of the variants. They are mercenary-used variants. So it has this is a mercenary / Word of Blake mech in many ways. So it has a place, I think, once again, in the upcoming Kickstarter. And I would really like to see it done because, again, I have a soft spot for this mech because it's one of those I'm not really great mechs. I'm good, but I'm not great. Now, switching gears, we're going to a mech I think is truly amazing, and I'm hoping is on the list, and that is the Anvil. The Anvil is just a fantastic heavy mech with all the pulse weapons and the speed it has and everything else, and it is a heavily used mercenary mech again. We see Kellhounds, Mercenaries, Wolf Dragoons, but this one, I'm going to say, well, I want it to be in the list, is one of those ones that I'm a little bit less confident on than the first 3. I think the first 3 have a really good chance of being in there. The Anvil, I would love to see it in there, but I think is a little bit more of an outlier. Next up, though, we have the Tempest 3M. And this is another mech that gets a lot of time in the mercenary units. It's used by, again, the core mercenaries, Later variants keep being used by mercenaries. So this is a mech that does stay in mercenary hands. It's a Free Worlds League designed mech, which means it's, where Blake gets hold of it also pretty easily. But it's another one of the ones I'd love to see kind of get a redesign a little bit. I don't want you to take away the beehive, but I think the beehive could be toned down a little bit. But aside from that, I think it's a solid mech again. That is a very common mercenary mech that I think deserves a place in this list. And honestly, I think it's got a good chance of coming in the Kickstarter. And I really hope it does because, again, I'm putting mechs on this list that I obviously like quite a bit, and this one I got a soft spot for as well. The Tempest has always been a fun mech because, once again, it's a jack of all trades, master of none. We're talking like Gallowglas rifles and large pulse lasers with SRM. It's eclectically laid it out, so it's not like stellar in any one way, shape, or form. Which is nothing to say of the next mech. And the next mech is the mech I expect the most of my entire list to be in the Kickstarter. Or if not in the... honestly, I don't know if this mech isn't coming out in, like, some other pack. I don't know why this one wasn't in, honestly. The Wolf's Dragoons box, instead of, like, another rifleman or whatever. Because this is the Gallowglas. The Gallowglas is freaking built on outreach. This is like a mercenary mech, or of mercenary mechs. This is like a pinnacle mercenary mech in so many ways. It's good combat mech. It's durable. It's strong. It's got a plethora of weapons. It can withstand a significant punch. This is your quintessential mercenary perfect mech in many ways, especially for combat missions. This thing I really think this one is going to be in the Kickstarter. Of all the mechs, I'd put money on this one over any of the other ones I have on the list, just because this is a freaking mercenary mech built by mercs for mercs, more or less. So, the Gallowglas. It better be in the Kickstarter, or I'm going to feel really, really sad. Next up is a mech that's kind of in the similar vein. It is the Bandersnatch. This is a mech built... I just love the lore of this mech. The medium lasers in the rear are always melting down, and so they raise them a meter and they stop melting down. They don't know why it works, but it works, and so they keep using it. And I'm just like, that is brilliant. I love it. It's also got a really nice weapons layout. Medium lasers, multiple LRM-5s and LB-10Xs. Seriously, it's a good mech, and it is another mech that's used heavily by mercenaries. And so I think it really has a place in the Kickstarter, and I'm really hoping it fits in there. Also, it's kind of got a really cool appearance. So, yeah, I'm hoping this one's in the Kickstarter. The next mech on the list is the Falconer. And I really want this one to make the Kickstarter for very, very, very many reasons. The first reason is, as of the more recent printings of the Battle Mech Manual, if you play with mech quirks, they've gotten rid of the quirk No Torso Twist, which used to be a staple on mechs like the Falconer, which has no waist. The legs are literally connected just directly into the body, behind the arms, which is just darn weird. And so if you play with the old mech quirks, it had no torso twist, meaning it was actually a pain in the butt at times because it's really easy for the enemy to move out of its arc of fire with all of its guns, and if you didn't go later in the turn, so yeah. In addition, so I really want to see how they're going to re-art design this thing and give it a waist, make it where that doesn't have that problem anymore, or whatever. In addition, this mech suffers from, like, no variants. In the history of Battletech, this is one of those mechs that has a whopping 2 variants only. In all of the time it's been around, 2 variants only in all time. And that is just like, wow, you need an update, man. You need to have some variation on this mech. This mech could use another, like, quarter dozen more variants or whatever. So, yeah, this one I want in the Kickstarter for that reason. Also, it is, again, a mech that's used heavily by mercenaries. So, it has a place for that. So, yeah, give me this mech. Give me an update to it. Give me a new sculpt of it. Make it look, just as cool, but give it a waist. And please, please, please give it, like, some significant number of variants. Because this thing is kind of a lost child of Battletech. Next up is our first assault mech. And that is going to be the Grand Titan. I love this mech. I love the way it looks. It's Optimus Prime, the battle mech, in so many ways. It's just got way too many guns, way too much to fight with. It overheats like crazy. But again, it's such a fun mech. It looks cool, so honestly, it doesn't need a massive redesign, just a little tweaking of redesign to, bring it in line with everything in the modern era. But it is a mercenary used mech, so I think that there's a good place for it out there. I think that I would really hope to see the Grand Titan being one of our assault mechs included in the next Kickstarter, because A, I like the mech, and B, it is used by mercenaries, so yay! Next up, though, is the mech that they owe us from the last Kickstarter. This mech was one of the ones that was teased as, oh, this is going to be coming out, this is in the list of stuff that's going to happen, and then because of some complaining about organizations of some of the boxes or whatever, we lost the Berserker. Seriously, I don't know what the heck happened and changed, something with the Kodiak being moved around or whatever, and like in the process, we lost the Berserker. I was devastated by that, because I love this mech, and it was perfect. They already had the Hatchetman and the Axeman, so they needed to throw in the Berserker and like the Scarabus, and you could have had your Axe Pack, your Axe Lance, your Melee Lance or whatever, and you'd have had one mech of every weight class in the Melee Lance, and it'd have been wonderful, fantastic, and boom, right there, a box that I bought like 3 times. But instead, it was denied to us. It was taken out of the list, and so my hope is they've already got like the art done for this thing, and maybe even a 3D sculpt of it for already done. Maybe they've even done some test prints of it or what, we just haven't seen them. But seriously, they owe us the Berserker, so I desperately hope the Berserker is going to be in the next Kickstarter. This is my biggest hope. It's not one of my more... It's in my 10 predictions, I think I have a pretty good chance. But this is my biggest hope for the Kickstarter, because this one is owed. This one is owed. That's the first 10. Those 10 are the ones that I tend to think have a pretty good chance of being in the Kickstarter. Because their era... a lot of them are the 3055 technical readout, if not all of them from the 3055 technical readout. So they're right in that era of where they're trying to like clean up the mechs, where they're pulling the Clan 2Cs from, like the Griffin 2C, the Shadowhawk 2C, and so forth. So it's kind of like that same focus. And they're all mercenary used mechs that I've listed here. So I think they've all got a place. I mean, the Anvil is the one that of these first 10. The Anvil is the one I hold the least hope for. And the Gallowglas I hold the most hope for. I want the Berserker is owed to us the most, and the Falconer is the most deserving of getting an upgrade. Now we're going to move into the next 5, and these 5 I think are long shots. These are all, once again, mechs used by mercenary organizations, but they're more long shots. And the first of these up is the Cronus. The Cronus is a mech with not a lot of variation, but it is a mech that is used by the mercenaries and pirates. So it has a place in this because it's a mercenary/pirate mech in so many ways. It's a nice little 55-tonner. It's overall pretty good, and honestly, the art is really suffering at this time period. This mech is from the technical readout 3067, and so far we've only had one mech from TRO 3057, or 3067, did I say 3057? TRO 3067, and that's the Hellion. I don't understand why that was the only mech from 3067 included in the prior Kickstarter, but it was. So now it's time to add a few more, I think. And I would like to see the Cronus, because it's a mercenary mech, and it deserves to go in this Kickstarter. Next up is the Helios. And this is another one of those mechs that really kind of like needs a friendly upgrade to it. It is a mech that's used by mercenaries and a lot of other factions. This one's from the 3060 technical readout. And it really, it needs an update, an upgrade, and whatever. And it's a mercenary mech, and I think it deserves to come up to the thing. It's again more of a long shot, but not as much of a long shot as I'd say the Cronus potentially is. But I would definitely like to see this mech included in the Kickstarter. Next up is probably what I would say is the most likely of these further reaching mechs to hit the Kickstarter, and that's the Verfolger. The Verfolger is a mercenary mech for mercenaries, essentially, again. And so it's definitely has a significant place and deserves to be in the mercenary Kickstarter, but it is from the technical readout 3067, which is why I think it's more of a long shot. But again, it is a mercenary mech, very much a mercenary mech, so I think this one deserves to be in the Kickstarter, and dear God, does it need to have an image upgrade. The arms are chaotic and odd, and they just are so weird. The gun just like sticks like a mile off the back of the mech. It looks like it's paper thin on the legs and the torso. It kind of needs to be beefed out and fluffed around and like moved some. Like it like I don't know if it's designed to look like a Franken-mech or not, because it looks like a Franken-mech to me, even though I know it's not a Franken-mech. So I really think that this one is definitely one of the mechs that deserves a whole bring up to the future. Also, it's only got 3 variants, so in some ways it suffers from the stinking Falconer problem of, hi, I'm barely here. I mean, some mechs have like 20 plus variants, and some mechs have 2 and 3. Even the numbers out a little bit more. Even the numbers out. Bring some of these suckers up with more variants, please. Next up is one I want redone because, again, this is one of those mechs I look at and go, you're just weird. Another of the mech that with the no torso twist being removed suffers that lack of a quirk because, well, this thing's essentially a torso pod held between 2 leg pillars. It's also needs some new variants because it suffers from the I carry SRM 2-streak one-shots problem. And that is a problem. That's always a problem. Which are just massive wastes of tonnage. Also carries way too much ammo in the base variant for the Gallowglas rifle. So it really needs to be pulled into the future. This one is from an earlier technical readout. So this one's from 55. I think it's more of a long shot still. And I'm not sure why I think it's more of a long shot. But I'm putting in my long shot categories. So, yeah. I mean, I really would love to see this one get redone and brought up to the new sculpt designs, get some more variants. Because once again, look at it. It's only got 3 variants. The War Dog needs some lovin'. And the last one is probably of my long shots, my longest long shot. And that's the No Dachi. I know, it really looks like it's more of a Draconis combined mech, but it does become a mercenary used mech for some variants in later eras. So it kind of roughly fits in there. But I really want this included because we don't have a sword-wielding mech yet. And this mech wields a sword, and swords are cool. It's also another long shot because, while it's more Draconis combined than it is mercenary, it's also technical readout 3067. Still, I hold out a mild bit of hope. This is kind of like my dream mech. This is the mech I would hope makes it, but I have the least faith making it into this Kickstarter. So, there we go. That's the 15 mechs that I'm predicting for the first 10 and then hoping for the latter 5 are going to make it into the Kickstarter. We will see what they come out at, what's actually come out, as we keep getting drips and drabs of information from Catalyst, which is honestly pretty cool, and a lot of fun to read and see how they go through the design process of the things. I've included no vehicles, and I've included no clan mechs, because I really want this to be a video that concentrates on the inner sphere stuff. I may do one for the clans in a little while, I'm not 100% certain, because I expect to see a lot less clan in there, although there are definitely some clan mechs that are used by the inner sphere mercenaries, though mostly a lot of them are the original like Omni mechs the clans brought into the inner sphere, because essentially those are so ubiquitous that everybody gets to use them at some point in time. But there are some clan mechs that do fall into inner sphere hands, in the mercenary hands, so I'll see what I can do about a video on that, because I'm honestly not sure a lot of the 2Cs fit in, but maybe it's like mercenaries and then second liners for the clans. That's maybe the idea. So, we'll see if I do a video for the clans or not. As it is, we've come to the end of this video, so all that's left to me to say is please do the YouTube things. Like, subscribe if you haven't already, click the notification bell, and leave a comment below of any mech that you think deserves to be in the list, or the Kickstarter, or that you really want in the Kickstarter. Either which way, some mech you think is either A, deserving, or B, should be in there. Well, that's actually the same thing. Or you want to be in there. So leave a comment below that tells me what mechs you think the Kickstarter should have. And with that said, it's time for me to do my typical leaving phrase and say sayonara, and we'll catch you next time.